Jayam Vishnupad Param Privajak Acharya Astatarasata A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Param Privajak Acharya Astatarasata Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srila Sadhguru Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinatha Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Mathura Dhamma Ki Jai. Navadvipa Dhamma Ki Jai. Mayapur Dhamma Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dhamma Ki Jai. Jagannatha Swami Ki Jai. Vrindavana Dhamma Ki Jai. Gange Murmai Ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Hare Nam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Gaura Premananda. Samaveta Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. All glories to Saint devotees. All glories to Saint devotees. All glories to Saint devotees. All glories to Shishi, Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Prabhupada. Both are on. Yeah, that black one is good, Emma. This altar got some renovation, huh? It was needed. You keep it white or this is just first? First, yeah. Nice. So these prayers which I recited now, where everybody's going down, this is called Prema Dvani prayers. And in these prayers we call the names of all the previous spiritual masters in our disciplic succession. And we say Jaya, which means all glories. So today we are going to read from this little book. This is Sri Ishopanishad. This is the first book which Srila Prabhupada translated, one of the first. I shouldn't say the first, but one of the first. And it's interesting because this is one of the oldest books from the Vedas, from the Upanishads. So, but it's simple in one sense, but also very important messages there. So please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So now I don't know how we're going to do with the text. We don't have anything, but anyway, so I just read. You can repeat after me, one word by word. Kurvan, Eveha, Karmani, Jijivishe, Satam, Samaha, Evam, Tvai, Nanyata, Ita, Asti, Na, Karma, Lipyate, Nare. If you have the text, maybe you can read after me. You have in your phone, Olga? You have the text, Ishopanishad 2, no? Yeah. So maybe you can read after me. Kurvan eveha karmani. Kurvan eveha karmani. Jiji vishechatam samaha. Jiji vishechatam samaha. Evam tvai nanyatosti. Nanyete tosti na karma lipyate nare. So now we go to the word by word. You want to read Kameshwari once? Yeah? No? Kurvan, doing continuously. Eva, does. Iha, during this span of life. Karmani, work. Jivishet, one should desire to live. Shatam, 100. Samaha, years. Evam, so living. Tvai, and to you. Na, no. Anyatha, alternative. Ita, from this path. Asti, there is. Na, not. Karma, work. Lipyate, can be bound. Nare, unto a man. So the translation is, one may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way. For that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative to this way for man. So please repeat. One may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way. For that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative to this for man. So this is mantra number 2. Before this, there was 2 other mantras. The first one is the mantra which states that everything which comes from the Supreme Lord is perfect and complete. And then, this was the first, the Supreme Lord, Krishna, creates everything. And then the mantra before this, mantra number 1, says that everything belongs to the Supreme Lord, and we should not take anything which doesn't belong to us. So now today, it is said that if we live in that way, and what means with that way, that number 1, we understand that everything created by the Lord is perfect and complete. And second, that the Lord, everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. So if we act in this way, we can live for hundreds of years, because there is no karma. So I'm going to read the purport. The purport starts with a very, very common sentence. No one wants to die. Everyone wants to live as long as he can drag on. This tendency is visible not only individually, but also collectively in the community, society, and nation. There is a hard struggle for life by all kinds of living entities. And the Vedas say that this is quite natural. The living being is eternal by nature, but due to his bondage in material existence, he has to change his body over and over. This process is called transmigration of the soul, or karma bandhana, bondage by one's work. The living entity has to work for his livelihood because that is the law of material nature. And if he does not act according to his prescribed duties, he transgresses the law of nature and binds himself more and more to the cycle of birth and death in many species of life. So we know, at least I think most of us know, that we are spiritual living entities, and as spiritual living entities we are eternal. And eternal means we don't die. But when we live in this world and we live in a body, the body dies. And if we identify ourselves with the body, then even if we don't die, the soul doesn't die, still we feel like we are dying. The soul feels like it's dying. Actually, one example which sometimes we give, one goes to a movie in order to enjoy whatever they present. I don't know if there is still good movies, but are there still good movies or no? No more good movies. Huh? Come here, Freddy. You also don't know.
Yes, of course.
There is still...
by ISKCON.
Oh, okay. But Hollywood? Because sometimes we go to the movie and we go there in order to enjoy. So also the soul comes in this material world in order to enjoy. And then in the movie there is the hero. Yeah, especially in the Indian films there is always a hero who overcomes all difficulties. And sometimes we identify with this hero. And the hero gets beaten or gets attacked. And even if we know this is a movie, it's going on there, I have nothing to do with it, it was recorded, it has nothing to do with reality, still because we are attached to this enjoyment of the movie and we are in this emotion, we feel, yeah. Sometimes people cry or they become very upset or the heart starts to beat. I actually remember when my daughter was small, I went to these kind of movies where you have, it's like on the roof, in a planetarium. And this movie I was seeing, it was about the jungle, the tropical forest, the Amazonian forest. And it was three-dimensional. So it was so real that there was a snake in this movie coming towards me and I made like this. I'm not joking, it's true. It was so real, this three-dimensional movie. So because we are, connected to that, then we perceive ourselves that we are dying. So in a similar way, for the soul in this material world, even if the soul is not going to die, the soul is eternal, still the feeling of death is there because of our attachment. We come to the point we must leave different things in this material world which we like, and that's not so easy if we are attached. So this is called karma bandhana. So this is the bondage of one's work. In the how do you say? In the Indian terminology, there is a word which is in Sanskrit it's called samsara. You have heard about samsara? So samsara, it means the repeated circle of birth and death. They call it sometimes the samsara wheel. And why? Because we live in this world, and when we live in this world, we must act, we must perform activities, we must eat, we must work, we have children, we must take care of these children, we have to relate with other people. So there is so many activities we must perform. And while performing these activities, we are actually creating karma, either good or bad karma. So like in our relationship with others, if we do something good for others, we are creating good karma. If we hurt, offend others, we are creating bad karma. Whatever we are giving out in this life, it comes back to us in form of a reaction. And this whole process is called karma bandhana. So the soul, even if it is eternal, because the soul is identifying with the body, the sufferings of the body becomes also, in a certain way, the sufferings of the soul. So this is like the first paragraph here in this book. It speaks how karma bandhana, how these reactions, how it is related to death. Because this attachment to the body make, even if the soul is eternal, it makes the soul go through this experience of death, like if the soul was deathly. So now here in the second paragraph, Srila Prabhupada is going to explain that actually human life offers liberation by teaching us how to get free from this karma bandhana. So we're going to read the second paragraph. So other life forms are also subject to the cycle of birth and death. But when the living entity attains a human life, he gets a chance to get free from the chains of karma. Karma, akarma, and vikarma are very clearly described in Bhagavad Gita. So here we speak about three types of karma. Karma, which is normal work, akarma, and vikarma. So actions that are performed in terms of one's prescribed duties, as mentioned in the revealed scriptures, are called karma. Actions that free one from the cycle of birth and death are called akarma. So akarma is basically transcendental work, spiritual work. And akarma, this it means in Sanskrit not, no karma, actually it means. So we do activities, but these activities, they don't create any karma, akarma. And actions that are performing through the misuse of one's freedom and that direct one to the lower forms of life are called vikarma. So vikarma, it means very bad activities. You know, one thing, like intoxication is a form of vikarma. Meat eating is another form of vikarma. So these are activities which are sinful, and because they are sinful, they imply that the soul, either in this life or in future lives, have to suffer. I'm sorry. Я лесен на тему прати по-английски мен. Я тите подаял да се. So these actions, they cause suffering to the living entity, either in this life or in next life. So like when people get drunk, they get headache. Next day, they feel horrible. They do many stupid things. The police takes them to jail. They beat each other. Anyway, they do so many stupid things when they get drunk. A lot of the karma comes immediately. Some karma is long-term because now it's becoming more and more evident that when people drink alcohol, they burn brain cells. So every time somebody consumes alcohol, the alcohol burns the cells of the brain. I think this is becoming common knowledge. So this is vikarma. Also, meat eating or killing animals is also a form of vikarma. Actually, in the modern society, we are not really aware of how much violence there is in the eating of meat, because we are used to buy this in a packet in the supermarket. It looks very clean, but we don't see the amount of suffering which went into producing this meat. This is very horrible conditions for the animals in these slaughterhouses, horrible people killing the animals. So this is vikarma. Of these three types of action, that which frees one from the bondage to karma is preferred by intelligent men. Ordinary men wish to perform good work in order to be recognized and achieve some higher status of life in this world or in heaven. But more advanced men want to be free altogether from the actions and reactions of work. Intelligent men well know that both good and bad work equally binds one to material miseries. Consequently, they seek that work which will free them from the reactions of both good and bad work. Such liberating work is described here in the pages of Sri Ishopanishad. So we all know, and I think this is the reason why everybody's here, that to live a completely materialistic life, it doesn't lead anywhere. Yeah? But the question is spiritual life a complement or a supplement to material life? We're doing our activities, our day-to-day activities, and let's say we add something to our life like chanting Hare Krishna. Is this a supplement or a complement? Of course, if you had the chanting of Hare Krishna, and if one becomes vegetarian and offers food to Krishna, actually one's life becomes complete in a certain way. But in order to free oneself from the laws of karma, one has to completely replace material activities with another kind of activities, spiritual activities, which here in the Upanishad it's called akarma. And akarma, it is basically devotional service. Devotional service to the Lord. So akarma is actions which we perform for liberation, for become free from the material world. I'll read now this third paragraph. So the third so there is a little sequence in this comment of Srila Prabhupada, this purport. So the first one is karma bandhana leads to death. Second one, which we just finished, that human life offers the liberation by teaching us, or by offering us the opportunity to perform akarma and get out of this samsara. Now the third one, the third paragraph, which I'm going to read now, speaks about the Vedas. Following the instructions of the Vedas ultimately leads to liberation, to akarma. So let me see. So the instructions of Shri, you have any questions or comments? The instructions of Sri Upanishad are more or less elaborately explained in the Bhagavad Gita, sometimes called Gita Upanishad. So this is another name for Bhagavad Gita, the cream of all the Upanishads. In the Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead says that one cannot attain the state of naiskarmya, it's another word, or akarma, without executing the prescribed duties mentioned in the Vedic literature. This literature can regulate the working energy of a human being in such a way that he can gradually realize the authority of the Supreme Being. When he realizes the authority of the personality of God at Vasudeva or Krishna, it is to be understood that he has attained the stage of positive knowledge. In this purified stage, the modes of nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, cannot act and is able to work on the basis of naish karma. Such work does not bind one to the cycle of birth and death. So here Srila Prabhupada is directing one, especially to the Bhagavad Gita, where the Supreme Personality of Godhead explains. There is one chapter in Bhagavad Gita, the third chapter, which is called Karma Yoga. How many people have Bhagavad Gita here? Everybody. Oy. So when you go home, in the evening, maybe you have time, you can read this third chapter. Third chapter is called Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga, it gives basic and simple instructions how to live in this life in such a way so that we gradually become free from karma. What more I wanted to say here? That's more or less it. So now in this fourth paragraph, Srila Prabhupada is explaining an interesting point, is that if we have somebody who is on the platform of living a material life, such a person, which is all of us, we are all of us in one way or another are or have been materialistic. So if we're living a material life, it's not from one day to another that one can become 100% God consciousness. God conscious. This does not work like that. It has to be a gradual progress from materialistic life to spiritual life. And Srila Prabhupada is going to explain here how one can bring God into one's life, even if one is performing material activities, even if one is living materialistic life, there is still the possibility of starting one's path to liberation by performing activities for the pleasure of God. So factually, no one has to do anything more than render devotional service to the Lord. However, in the lower stages of life, one cannot immediately adopt the activities of devotional service, nor can one completely stop fruitive work. A conditioned soul is accustomed to working for sense gratification, for his own selfish interest, immediate or extended. An ordinary man works for his own sense enjoyment, and when this principle of sense enjoyment is extended to include his society, nation, or humanity, in general, it assumes various attractive names, such as altruism, socialism, communism, nationalism, and humanitarianism. These isms are certainly very attractive forms of karma bandhana, karmic bondage, but the Vedic instruction of Shri Upanishad is that if one actually wants to live for any of the above isms, he should make them God-centered. There is no harm in becoming a family man or an altruist, a socialist, a communist, a nationalist, or a humanitarian, provided that one executes his activities in relation with Ishavasya. Ishavasya, this is the verse before. A God-centered conception. So, here Srila Prabhupada explains that one cannot immediately jump from a materialistic life to a spiritual life. One has to gradually, one has to start somewhere. And like everything in life, like if you want to become a doctor or a teacher, it's not that you wake up one day and you are a teacher. It takes many years of studying. Or if you want to be a doctor, it takes many years of practice and study. So in devotional service is the same thing. We are living a material life, all of us, because we are here, we have a body, we have families, we have so many things. So what Srila Prabhupada is advising here is that we should take that and make that God-centered. One example, maybe some people, like nowadays there is so many wars in the world, and people want to send food to these places because people don't have anything to eat. They are starving. They are suffering in so many ways. So instead of discouraging somebody of doing that, of helping others or giving food to others, one can say, yes, to serve food is very good. But why don't you offer that food to Krishna and you serve prasadam? So in this way, we have this ism, this altruism, maybe here, or humanitarianism, that one wants to help others, and that's a very good feeling. And one should encourage such people to go on, but instead of just offering any food, one can offer prasadam, food which is offered to Krishna. I also know that when Srila Prabhupada was preaching to Indians, he was always, because to be an Indian, it's also ism. You come from a nation which is called India, and you call yourself Indian. Is one of these ism, nationalism. But instead of discouraging them, Srila Prabhupada would say, you come from India, you have such a wonderful culture. Why don't help us to spread this Vedic culture all over the world? You have this fantastic heritage. So we can see in Srila Prabhupada's preaching that he used people's material identifications, and he tried to use that in order to bring them to the platform of devotional service. So whatever we are doing, we can just add God to it. We can go on living our life. Actually, Srila Prabhupada in the beginning, when he came to America, in newspapers they asked him, what do you want to accomplish here, And Srila Prabhupada said, I just want to teach you what you have forgotten about God. But he didn't want to change people's way of life, really. He just want to add God to it. So now we're going to read this, the fourth paragraph. So factually, no, this I already read. The fifth paragraph, sorry. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna states that God-centered activities are so valuable that just a few of them can save a person from the greatest danger. This is the greatest danger of life is the danger of gliding down again into the evolutionary cycle of birth and death among the 8,400,000 species. If somehow or other a man misses the spiritual opportunity afforded by this human form of life and falls down again into the evolutionary cycle, he must be considered most unfortunate. This process of devotional service is very strong, because whatever we do in this process of devotional service is for the benefit of the soul. And being for the benefit of the soul, it is for our eternal benefit. In our scriptures, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a very interesting story. And this is the story of Ajamila. I don't know if any one of you is familiar with this story, Ajamila. So Ajamila was a Brahmana. So he was a follower of the Vedas, and he was living a very spiritual life, very regulated life. And at one point in his life, because of bad association, he completely gave up the Vedic culture. And he became actually involved in vikarma. many materialistic activities. Still, because of his previous service to Krishna, he had a child, and he called that child Narayana. Narayana. So Narayana, it's a name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which means like the origin of mankind, Narayana. And Ajamila, when he was going to die, he was thinking, because he was very attached to his child. He called Narayana, Narayana, Narayana. So, because at the time of death, he called for the name of Narayana, which is the name of Krishna, then he was transferred to the spiritual world. So he had performed a little devotional service in his life, but this devotional service came to save him from the greatest danger, because otherwise, if he would have, according to the life he lived, he should have actually degraded. But because he had performed devotional service, at the time of death, he remembered Krishna. And whatever we remember at the time of death, there we go. This is a simplification of law of karma. Whatever you think at the time of leaving the body, that you attain. So one should be very careful what one is thinking at the time of death. Of course, one has no control. The time of death is the sum total of one's life. So due to his defective senses, a foolish man cannot see that this is happening, you know. Consequently, Sri Upanishad advises us to exert our energy in the spirit of Ishavashya. Ishavashya means that everything belongs to God. Being so engaged, we may wish to live for many, many years. Otherwise, a long life in itself has no value. Trees live for hundreds of years, hundreds and hundreds of years, but there is no point in living a long time like trees, or breathing like the bellows of a blacksmith, or begetting children like hogs and dogs, or eating like camels. A humble God-centered life is more valuable than a colossal hoax of a life dedicated to godless altruism or socialism. So everybody wants to live long, but actually we see, like in the life of great personalities, you know, like Lord Chaitanya stayed in this world for 48 years. Shankaracharya, I think he was also, how old? 30, 40. Jesus was 33 years. So it's not the length of life which one lives, but the quality of life. Because you see from these people that they actually accomplished so much. So when altruistic activities are executed in the spirit of Sri Upanishad, they become a form of karma yoga. Such activities are recommended in the Bhagavad Gita, for they guarantee their executor protection from the danger of sliding down into the evolutionary process of birth and death. Even though such God-centered activities may be half-finished, they are still good for the executor, because they will guarantee him a human form in the next birth. In this way, one can have another chance to improve his position on the path of liberation. So, Srila Prabhupada explains here that if we are able to focus on spiritual life and give some part of our energy for our spiritual development, we start our spiritual path and we gradually become free from this entanglement of karma. And what happens when we become free from the entanglement of karma? The soul goes back to the spiritual world and becomes a servant of Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada finishes here in the purport. One can execute God-centered activities. How one can execute God-centered activities is explained in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami. We have rendered this book into English as the Nectar of Devotion. We recommend this valuable book to all who are interested in performing their activities in the spirit of Shirsha Upanishad. So I'm going to finish here. I wonder if you have any questions or comments. Isha Upanishad is heavy philosophy, so it's a little bit challenging to hear. But these things are important to understand. You know, first of all, like if we summarize a little bit what we have discussed today, the first point was that karma bandhana, so to be attached to fruitive activities to the material world, brings us to the point of death. Of course, we have to die anyway, but we'll not have to suffer the process of death if we are spiritually self-realized. So this is the first point. Karma bandhana leads to that. Then the second point, it's that human life is different from the animal life because the animals, they have no choice. The animals cannot get free from suffering. They just follow their instinct. But human beings, they can understand, they can analyze, and they can understand what is causing me suffering in this life. And in this way, we can understand that this desire to enjoy the material world is causing us suffering, and we can gradually try to change this desire and instead try to desire for liberation, to become free from the attachment to the material world. How do we find out this? We find this out from the Vedas, by studying the Vedas. And can we do this immediately? No. This is a gradual process. So first, we continue to live the life that we live, unless we are performing maybe heavy sinful activities, you know, like all the members in Krishna conscious movement, we advise them to at least become vegetarian, you know, which is not so difficult. So we cannot change our life immediately, but we can bring God into our life. Whatever activities we are doing, we can bring God into those activities. Because if we don't do that, then everything we are doing is just material. You know, we may try to help people, we may try to help our nation, but this doesn't really influence our karma. We just subject to the laws of karma, subject to be born again, and to suffer the results of our activities. And finally, Srila Prabhupada encourages us, whatever propensity we have in life, we use it for the service of Krishna. And actually, when we read how Srila Prabhupada was preaching, I was actually reading, he was visiting in India a club of wrestlers, you know, where they fight, classical Indian fight. And instead of telling them, oh, you're just materialistic, you're just fighting, you're just developing your body, no. He said, you are like warriors, you're very strong. So when you create a Krishna conscious society, you can help the society. You can keep order in society. You can do something good for the people. So it's not that he discouraged them. He said, you're just wrestlers, materialistic here. Also the same thing, you know, when Srila Prabhupada met people who were doing social work or distributing food, they have some desire to do something good. Then Srila Prabhupada always encouraged them to continue to do that, but make it God-centered. Sometimes we don't know immediately how to make our life God-centered. I had this problem in my life. I work with mathematics. So I was wondering how to make mathematics God-centered. I still didn't solve that problem. But you can, because you can train the mind for yoga and for meditation. by becoming very disciplined. Anyway, this is a side track. So whatever propensity we have, whatever assets if we have money, we can give a donation to the temples of Krishna. If we know how to cook, we can cook something. If we don't know how to cook, we can bring some fruit to the temple. Like in India, everybody who comes to the temple brings always some fruit, bananas, apples, oranges, isn't it? Flowers, nobody goes to the temple empty-handed. So this is the beginning of our devotional service. And the mystical thing with devotional service is like this, that Krishna is within our heart. So when we take a little step towards Krishna, Krishna sees that. So it is explained, actually in this book which Srila Prabhupada mentions, which is Nectar of Devotion. When we take one step towards Krishna, Krishna takes 10 steps towards us. So it goes very fast. You take 20 steps, Krishna takes 200. So we have to start this devotional service. Another thing, like here we have this little congregation. It is nice if you have the possibility to bring other friends, to introduce them to Krishna consciousness. So maybe they can listen a little bit to the philosophy, they can listen to the holy name, and they can take prasadam, food offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay? Any questions or comments? Ilya. Ilya or Olia? Ilya. Ilya. It's girl. Sorry. Okay.
So you were talking about different isms.
Yeah.
When it comes to preaching Krishna consciousness to people from other traditions like Muslims or Christians or whatever, we don't know that tradition, how to, like, let's call it, sell Krishna consciousness in an unbind way that it's not like a Hinduism again, ism. It's not a Hindu tradition, it's something internal.
I mean, what I have seen from the texts from Srila Prabhupada, the founder of our movement, is that if he spoke with a Christian or a Muslim or a Buddhist, he encouraged them to become good in their religion. He never encouraged them to come directly to Krishna consciousness. He said, you're Christian, become a good Christian. Don't kill, Prabhupada used to say, because there is this commandment. You know, don't kill. If you are a Christian, why are you killing animals? So Srila Prabhupada never told people directly, okay, you become a devotee of Krishna, if they were already in another religion. They just tried to encourage them in whatever they were doing.
What if they are not directly linked to Christian tradition? They're just born in a Christian country. They are not really.
I mean, then, if one is not connected to a faith, then you can invite them to. You can explain them your realizations. You know what Krishna consciousness has given you. Because the best thing is that we explain to people according to our own experience. You know, like, when you start to practice Hare Krishna, maybe the fear of death disappears. Or maybe anxiety disappears. Or maybe you don't feel frustrated anymore. I mean, it's different for different people what happens, because we have all different problems in life, and Krishna consciousness solves them, but solves them in a different way. There is not a formula. So what I found out is that to explain people what Krishna consciousness gave to me, because then it's your personal experience. Otherwise, you can repeat what is in the book, but it's not as good as you have some realization. Because one thing which comes quite immediately when you start to practice Krishna consciousness and you start to depend on Krishna, is that the anxiety about material life disappears. People are so worried, you know. In the old days, I used to travel a lot for ISKCON all over the world, and people in the airplane, they are hysterical. The woman takes the microphone and says, boarding, and like 100 people, like they were afraid of missing the airplane or something like that. Same thing when you arrive to the airport airplane lanes, everybody takes their suitcases and this is actually a symptom. I don't know if you ever thought about this, but this is a symptom of how much people are in anxiety and worried about. I mean, why do they have to rush? Everybody will board in, and it's the best thing actually, you go in last in the airplane. This is the best because everybody already put their luggage and they are sitting and they are calmed down. If you go first, everybody comes above you and throws their suitcases on your head. But there is so many symptoms of anxiety in the modern society, you know. So this is the first thing which Krishna takes care of. Krishna takes care of our worries if we surrender to him. Anyway, according to realization, you can try to inspire other people. It's also good sometimes just to give a book, because they can go to their home and they can peacefully read and maybe they will understand and become inspired. But there is not one formula which will work for everybody. Because we are dealing also with the desires of different people. Like I have 4 children, I educated them in all the same way, and their attitudes towards Krishna consciousness, they are all different. Of course, nobody is super negative, but the way they practice and the way they put them in Krishna consciousness in their life is different from one to the other. So it has to be personal. In the old days, actually, one thing which, I mean, society has changed a lot, and people before, they were looking more for alternative ways of living, at least in the Western countries. Like in the time I grew up, in the 70s and 80s, people thought, I mean, I thought my parents were crazy, you know. They were working day and night, both of them, to make money, and in the end of this, they're going to die. I mean, this is how I view their life. So many young people in those days, they were looking for an alternative. There must be a meaning to life. It cannot be just work and collecting money and paying your bills and going on holidays, you know, all this like world around. There must be something deeper. And if you have people who have this kind of questions, then it's very easy to preach to them. But this is becoming more and more rare in modern society. And the reason is because modern society, people are losing their inner space. Everybody goes on the street with his music, you know, and then they are jogging, and after that they are looking at YouTube. You know, people, there is no inner space. You know, to meditate and to understand God and to understand yourself, you need a little bit distance to everything. You can relate to that, I guess, Ilya, yeah? You need a little distance. Like if you go in a forest, you feel some kind of, okay, I'm away from Malmö, you know, from all these buildings and the cars and the people. It's just very peaceful. So in modern society, it's becoming more difficult because people don't have this inner space. People are always stressed with something. I don't know if you're satisfied or not with my answer.
It's good. I was thinking the other continuation of that process, engagement in service. So if you like offer the guy to do this in this tradition, it's still they faced all of these Hinduistic, you know, ornaments and dressing and everything is non-European, for example.
Yeah.
That could be an obstacle.
One has to be open-minded. Yeah, it is true. Many devotees were in the beginning they were a little bit afraid, because in this society is always pushing us to be all, we have to be all the same. So if you dress differently, or maybe some people feel uncomfortable. But one can explain these things are not the essence, you know. Like, okay, I have Indian clothes because we are supposed to use Indian clothes when we visit the temple. You know, it's just like our tradition. But the essence of the philosophy is not Indian, really. I mean, the essence of philosophy is conceptual. There is a concept of God. There is a concept of the living entity. There is a concept of the love between the living entity and God. There is a concept of non-violence, you know, that we should not harm others and kill animals. So these things are conceptual. And if you have somebody, I mean, I know many people who follow Krishna consciousness, but they never put Indian clothes on. This is not the essence. Or to have a tilak, this is not really the essence. The essence is in the heart. Because how is our development in spiritual life? It's like first we go to the temple. Yeah? This is normal in all religions. The Christians go to the church. The Muslims go to the, what is it called? Mosque. And so on. Then actually we create a temple in our home. This is not the normal process. And ultimately we create a temple in our heart. We invite God to our heart. So this has, you know, this is a transcendental process. Of course we have the Indian external tradition. But this should not be an obstacle. If somebody is a little sincere, it should not be an obstacle. Just give them a little time. Okay? Mohini.
I just wanted to add something.
Please.
For women to go to the temple, you know, what am I going to wear? What am I going to have? You know, so it's so easy if you just have something, you know, from India, you know, $50, then it's no problem. You know? Because women always have problems
With dressing.
so it's very, very easy.
I mean, one thing when I joined, the devotees told me, oh, these clothes, they are so comfortable. Because trousers, they are always around your legs. And this is just, you know, when it's warm. When it's minus 30, it's not.
Nothing is good when it's minus 30 or 40.
Anything else? What is your name?
Magnus.
Magnus. You came here before?
No, it's the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's an honor. Very nice.
Yes, it's an honor for me too.
How did you find this place?
I know Tuva.
Ah.
A friend of Tuva.
Yeah.
Very good. Wow.
Yes, we have these meetings every Sunday. Discuss a little bit different people. I speak once a month, and then other devotees speak. And Tuva can probably explain you everything. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. That's okay. Venom still.